And speaking of DB, let's get to our changeup, presented by Speedy. He's at T-Mobile Park tonight, so I have to have the call. Dallas, I've got a few things I prepared to say to you here. Are you okay just to sit back and relax for a minute?
Absolutely, my man.
All right, here we go. It's one thing for me to remember watching Dave Stewart pitch as a kid, but Dallas, you're the only coworker here that I actually got the chance to cover and interview and now work with as a broadcaster. Back then when you were a player, I'll be honest, I always thought you were flipping crazy, but it was also really obvious to me how much all of your teammates loved you. And I didn't really maybe understand it back then, but I'm so glad I eventually got the chance to see what they saw. In 2017, ESPN did a really dumb round of layoffs, and instead of promoting you like they should, you came to us. And that day, I'll never forget walking into my boss's office and saying, hey, we got to get DB in here for every single game and show that we can. And of course, I was stating the obvious, and they were already on that case, and I'm glad it worked out. 2017 for our shows was such a foundational year, and it's not just because Matt Chapman and Matt Olson made their A's debuts, and it's not just because Dave Stewart came around and Dallas Braden came around for our studio shows for their first seasons, but also, DB, you know this, Braden and Brazil both became fathers separately, like weeks apart, for the very first time. I love that season, and I love those hour-long shows, not because it was the last time and the first time we'd ever seen you wearing suits and ties, but because I still appreciate the jolt of energy that you brought to all of us. Ultimately, I knew you were way too valuable to the game broadcast, and eventually we would lose you to Glenn and Ray, and that was fine, but I was so glad to see that happen for you and put you on an even bigger stage. Because who knew that we would all need those descriptions of rolling up tight ones to describe double plays, or next stop, Pound Town, to really vibe with what a Chris Davis home run meant, or the old athlete for that exceptional 1-3 assist on the scorecard. In a perfect world, Dallas, I think we both would have been doing these respective jobs right now side by side until we were both as old as Dave Stewart, making memories for families and fans over at Howard Terminal. I think we both would have signed up for that for decades, but it's obviously not the cards we've been dealt. Baseball is always going to remember Dallas Braden for authoring the 19th ever perfect game. And yeah, that's pretty great and that's pretty hard to beat. But I've seen you do even better work than that in these last 5 months, gracefully guiding an entire culture and fan base and family until its final days in Oakland. And Dallas, you can be the 209 mayor all you want, but you will always be a 5'10 GOAT to me. I love you, buddy. That's all I got.
Brody, thank you, man. The growth that you and I have experienced together over the years has been something that I have continually held as close to my heart as anything. The opportunity to just use you as a sounding board when we're talking about things we're going through as young fathers, trying to figure things out, trying to figure myself out as a broadcaster, trying to figure out how I was going to be able to fit into the world that you had already created, to the fan bases that you had already touched so deeply and continue to do. I knew that I was going to have a wonderful opportunity to learn from somebody who had the absolute ideal way of connecting with fans, and that was from you, B. And watching you do it at the ballpark, watching you from afar do it on the ice, and everywhere in between, you have continued to set the example for what it means to be the conduit from the folks at home and the folks on ice or at the ballpark and the crew in the studio. And the work that you have done over your time at NBC and the work that you and I have been able to do together, Brody, is something that I'm extremely proud of. And I have a lot that I owe you, my friend. And I think all I can say to you right now is thank you, B. I appreciate your kind words, and you know I love you, brother.
No, love you too, man. Baseball needs you. Baseball is going to have a lot of you, wherever, whatever you do. This, something else, anything else, to be quite honest with you. So we'll let you go. We'll let you recover. Dallas, I just wanted to say those last words to you, and I appreciate that. We'll talk soon, buddy.
Thanks, Brody. Love you, bro.